you know, some things are just beautiful. A nice sunset, a nice sunrise, a deck list with 4 chokes. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another legacy video, and today Ross has asked us to do a run back with shrines. If you did not watch the first video with this deck, I highly recommend it. It was a thing of beauty. The league went very, very well. And I hope we have another similar league powered by Replenish. Our goal here is pretty simple. We are going to use Malevolent Rumble, Commune with the Gods, and Ripples of Undeath to mill cards and eventually hope to win the game in a single turn by casting a Replenish. Our goal is to combine Northern Air Temple with a bunch of other shrines, in particular Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. So, when this enters, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. In addition to that, whenever another shrine you control enters, you drain your opponent for 1. So, what's going to happen here is that when we cast Replenish, there's going to be a very, very large stack. And the hope is that this first Northern Air Temple trigger is on the very bottom. And above that, we have Go-Shintai of Life's Origin triggering a bunch of times. This is going to create shrine tokens for each non-token shrine we control that enters. So, if every one of the shrines we have makes a token, that drains 1, and that makes the eventual Northern Air Temple trigger even better. There's a bunch of singleton and near singleton shrines in this deck list that have various effects. I have gone down a couple of shrine types from the previous version of the deck. Go-Shintai of Boundless Vigor overperformed last time. I've gone up to a second one of those. I think I am up 1 more Ripples of Undeath from where I was at before. So we're essentially like Abzan Shrine combo Reanimator via Replenish. Now, as far as the sideboard goes, we are taking called shots against various things in the format. We are not trying to cover everything. The combo that is in this deck is pretty card intensive. We need a very high density of shrines to ensure that we mill over multiple with things like Ripple and Malevolent Rumble and Commune with the Gods. We could try to take some ramp out of the deck and play Thoughtseize in the main deck instead. Replenish is slow. We're at a roughly 50% combo metagame in Legacy right now. I think I need the ramp, but Thoughtseize works similarly, so I don't know quite where I fall on that. It's possible we could just play Thoughtseize where Deafening Silence is, and it is potentially better. How do I feel about that as a last minute change? All right, yeah, I don't hate that. Let's Thoughtseize. And we have a very good sort of anti-blue plan cooking with 4 choke and 4 Carpet of Flowers. And something that was really fun in the previous league was I have a bunch of things that look kind of threatening. And if my opponent counters a choke, it might make the way for Replenish to actually resolve, which brings back the choke. So Force of Will and Daze and Spell Pierces just send things to graveyard where I will just recast them eventually via Replenish. Or rather, put them into play, not recast them. This was a deck that was a lot of fun last time around. Ross, hopefully we do well again with this one. And folks, if you need any Magic cards for this, please consider getting them from my sponsor, toamagic.com. And when you do, use my promo code ThrabenU to save yourself a little bit on your order. I have a short list of cards that I'm going to be getting from them for Commander purposes, but I keep just recording more videos instead of placing that order. So, whoops, I'll find time eventually. That being said, let's battle. All right, my opening hand has no mana. This is an auto mulligan. All right, that's just where we're at. Kicking off the league on a mold of 5, I guess. This is mostly the stuff that I need. I'll need another mana source from somewhere. This one goes back in the deck. And this one goes back in the deck. We've got Scalding Tarn into Chromatic Star. Well, I have some good tools. I'm going to get a basic forest here and probably Utopia Sprawl on white. Are you like sewer cam combo? Like, that's kind of what I am guessing this is going to be. Not very many things want to play a Chromatic Star. Okay. It is Loki. So the baubles effectively are draw twos. All right. I hit a land drop. That is beautiful. I don't think I'm expecting days out of this deck. I'm going to Malevolent Rumble. I'm going to look to find a land while milling some enchantments, which I do. So I will grab a Savannah, play a Savannah, and pass turn. I have 2 enchantments in the graveyard, which is not really enough for a full-on combo here. Unsure whether or not I will fire off a Replenish to just get 2 of those things back. I might need to just put Go-Shintai of Hidden Cruelty into play, but we're like barely ending up ahead on mana usage as far as Replenish goes. We've got 2 mana for Goblin Engineer. Yeah, alright, so it is Sewer Cam. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 mana is important for the Go-Shintai ability. I hope. There's a weird, like, Lightning Bolt Force of Will situation going on here, where I don't want to use the Eldrazi spawn until I have to. Alright, cool. So this is not a drain for very much. And now I'm hoping that my opponent can't remove this so that I can move the end step, sacrifice this spawn, and then kill one of my opponent's creatures. So I will do this. Loki or Engineer? I assume it's Engineer. I just think that's too threatening with Saga going on. I can take Loki the next turn, and then hopefully work towards doing something a little more busted over the course of a few turns. Skateboard? Yep. That's Welder with haste. That's rough. So my opponent now has the Sewer Valence Cam combo. Luckily, Loki only triggers once each turn, but my opponent can loop these 2, and each time that this goes to the graveyard, they are going to draw another card. I have lost this. I'm not going to sit here for 5 minutes while my opponent combos off. They've got it. GG. Now, Replenish brings back all enchantments from graveyard, which is kind of cool with things like Carpet of Flowers and Choke and whatnot. So, how do I want to thread this game? I can go down on things like Shrines and become, like, hate permanent Reanimator with Replenish. I think I'm going to turn Utopia Sprawls into Carpets. It's a little weird. I think those ramp better overall. It's hard for me to board in Choke and Leyline of the Void at the same time, unless I, like, cut Bird, in which case the Choke gets worse. I think I need these. This Shrine feels slow. I don't think the life gain is all that big of a deal here. And trim one other one. This looks reasonable. The Carpet of Flowers are, like, weird, because sometimes my opponent has multiple Volks. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that, I guess. Bam, bam. And play a bird. A funny-looking bird. What is this? Crane. A Wakanda crane. Alright, you've got it. There is a Welder. That's a 1/1. Okay, cool. So here's a Carpet. I will get my 1 mana out of that immediately. Bam, bam. And now I can start scaling this up by 1 each turn. And it will scale my other Shrine creatures as well, which could become relevant. Urza's Saga comes in. That does not make Carpet better. Sure. There's Emery. All right. Leyline's doing some work. Anything cool in exile? Not really. I think I'm just holding this back so chip damage doesn't happen. And then at end of turn, I scale up. I need some source of card advantage or selection here. I think I have a couple of surveil lands. Let's take a look. Yeah, so I will Lush Portico first. That is a great card that does not do anything right now. I think I am just hard casting some big dumb enchantments if I draw them. I think I say no to the Replenish, as awkward as that is. Ugh. So I will pass turn again and continue to scale up this creature. My opponent's Urza's Saga tokens are just going to be bigger than this. I'm just going to surveil now because I know that my opponent is has the potential to do something like Pithing Needle here. That's another bad card on top. So these are going to be 5/5 construct tokens. My opponent potentially just skateboards, taps down, Go-Shintai, and crashes in for a couple of points of damage. Tapping down the bird. Okay. What does that mean? Touching another Volk, skateboard. All right, opponent crashes in. I just kind of have to take that damage. I'm at 7. All right. I've used both surveil lands. Let's commune with the gods, see if I can do something busted of some kind. This is the best I can do in the short term, which is, I think, what matters. So there's 4 mana. And there's this 1. Okay, yeah, it is 1. And I think I'm going to go ahead and fetch here so that I can keep this bird untapped and potentially chump block with it. Yeah. Get like a second white source in the form of Savannah. And Life's Origin is the one that I want to make big and keep around. I have, in theory, stabilized the board versus these construct tokens. Now they're too big. Block to take 0 here. Try to keep scaling up my creatures faster than my opponent can deploy new artifacts. They just have to crack in with one of these constructs once, and I am in trouble. Oh, that Loki represents so much card draw. Like, that will shrink these constructs in the short term, but almost certainly grow them in the long term. Oh, I wonder if I had a line where I keep the bird and use bird plus carpet to return. I actually don't have great things in graveyard. That is another land. All right. I've got nothing, at which point I am probably dead. So I will pay and keep scaling this up. But I think my opponent can likely shift their permanents around in a way that results in me dying this turn if they like move skateboard to some other blocker. Okay, yeah, that just does it already. So that taps this down, and then the construct tokens, unfortunately, are just lethal. My opponent gets that one. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I love them. I have over 1,000 deck lists here. And I think the thing that I like the most about them is they're more than just a basic deck builder. If you need information about your next pre-release or where you can get cards, they have that sort of stuff here too. Whether you need to manage your collection or just a couple of decks, Moxfield does it all. So go check them out. All right. Opening hand does not have enough mana. I need to mulligan this one. This hand is fine. I am going to keep this and put back one of the shrines. This one? In theory, this one combines very well with Go-Shintai. This is a good way to use my mana if I like flood out. I think I like this combo in theory. Snow-covered island and pass turn. I have a couple of surveil lands that hope to aggressively... Oh, never mind. I'll keep that. Anyway, the plan was aggressively mill and hope to build towards Replenish being gross. It looks like opponent is combo. You are show and tell? You are show and tell. Go-Shintai? I guess? My opponent's Emrakul is a little bit better than my Shrine friend, unfortunately. Do I have Karakas as an out? I do not have Karakas as an out, in which case we are dead to my opponent jamming their combo on turn 2. That hand was going to be sweet, like multiple Malevolent Rumbles is an awesome plan. And now, like, this sort of stuff becomes the plan for how we win. Utopia Sprawl becomes Carpet. I will need to board out 8 enchantments, which is probably most of the flex slot enchantments. Man, 8 is so many. And we are fully hoping for, like, choke-based concessions here. Nope. This isn't perfect. I'm going to keep it. I think I'm putting this back in the deck and hoping that these 2 cards bring me to something unfair to do with Replenish or find me a choke or whatever. This is not like the Thoughtseize into Malevolent Rumble into Replenish, like, Dream Opener or anything. Alright, let's fetch. I think I'm going to assume that I need Savannah to work towards Replenish. Opponent has Scalding Tarn and passes. Go-Shintai. I'm probably casting Malevolent Rumble into Commune. Ripples? Ripples is cool. I'm going to take that. Then I will fetch black and throw down Ripples. If this sort of stuff gets countered, the Replenishes bring it back later, which is cool. And Ripples can look for, like, spell-based disruption, which is nice. Opponent surveils 1, throws away a Brainstorm. I'm so afraid of, like, the Ancient Tomb Show and Tell lines, because those also are pretty good versus the, like, choke Carpet of Flowers thing that I would like to set up as an angle towards victory. Scalding Tarn can fetch and clear that Brainstorm. And it does. And then it is a Ponder. Ooh, Carpet is nice. That's a Thoughtseize, yes. Like, as much as I want to do Replenish Crimes, I just need to punch a hole with Thoughtseize. So, what you got over there? Stuff worth protecting via Force of Will. So then here's Carpet. I will go to second main, where I will make green and cast Commune with the Gods. I will just let those go to graveyard for when I return them with Replenish. It's a shame I can't pick up the land here. But without doing the math on it, I imagine that returning 3 Northern Air Temples at the same time is pretty gross. Hopefully we don't die this turn to Sneak Attack or whatever. That is Sneak Attack or whatever. Please don't have the creature too. Fuck. That is an Emrakul. I am at exactly 15 life because of Ripples plus Thoughtseize. That is a shame. With one more turn, I get to replenish for 3 Northern Air Temples plus the top couple cards of my library from Ripples. So that also would have potentially returned a choke as well. GG's, we were not fast enough there. Okay, my opening hand isn't perfect. Some things can go wrong. I don't have the black mana to cast Ripples if Bird dies. If Bird doesn't die, I get to go Ripples into Lush Portico, and life's pretty good. Yet another combo deck. It is Goblin Welder combo again. And Portable Hole on Bird. Well, shit. Life's bad. This Ripples can go to graveyard. I will Utopia Sprawl and name black. That is Goblin Engineer. I wonder what it'll get. It could be anything. Even Surveillance Cam. So life's bad. My opponent now has infinite mana via Goblin Welder Surveillance Cam. And now they have Legion Extruder. So we are just literally dead to this combo on turn 2. As each time that my opponent does it, it pings me for 2 points of damage. Alright, GG. I know that I want Leyline of the Void. I could Thoughtseize as well. I don't think I do. I think I want to keep my like shrine count high, or at least reasonably high. I will trim a handful of these. That has no starting mana. I swear there are lands in this deck. This is all mana. I don't believe that I can keep this. I will go to 5. Wow, this is also just terrible. This is bad variance. I think I am playing one more land than last time as well. I think it is more likely that I win a game on 4 that is like Leyline, land, literally any other card, than I win a game with turn 2 Ripples maybe, and maybe instantly just miss a land drop. Okay, yes, this is what I was talking about. So this will be land, surveil land, leyline, replenish. This is easily the best hand of any of the ones that I have looked at so far. And hopefully I don't just eat it to Urza's Saga. Ancient Tomb comes down. And Painter's Servant. Yep. I will surveil. All right. One of our combo pieces is in the graveyard immediately, which is great. Everything has been painted black. I will have a second surveil land to try and do something. But it may be that we covered sewer combo and just get got by painter combo. Because it can happen right now. Just grindstone, 3 mana, activate. And that could just be the end. I will take 1. I am at 18. Goblin Welder. Significantly less good as of right now. I will surveil land again off Underground Mortuary. Bayou can go to the bin. I'm looking for more things to fuel the graveyard. Replenish for Go-Shintai alone is not enough. I am passing the turn here. Arid Mesa comes down. Fable comes down. Definitely just threatened by a fair game plan here. I will take 2. I'm at 15. Replenish. Number 2 is not what I am looking for. And this is where like being on a mulligan to 4 is now devastating. Like 1 more land or 1 more cantrip puts me in a very, very different spot. Goblin Welder, opponent says no to. The looting 2 from Fable is actually horrifying here. All right, 2 cards entered the exile zone. Engineer and Prismatic Ending. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Rip my replenishes. All right, opponent just immediately cracks that after taking out my 1 enchantment from graveyard. Just taking the redraw. I'm at 11. Bird is very bad. I suspect that I am now just dead. Like, I will probably just lose to something like fair damage backed up by a lightning bolt, even if my opponent does not have the full-on combo. I do still believe it was correct to bin Bayou. The fact that I drew 2 4-drops in a row after that is just unfortunate. All right, take 4. I'm at 7, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, not counting bird chump block. That is lethal. Yeah. I block 1, I take 2, 3, 4, 5, not lethal. This wasn't good enough as far as the milling goes. I think at this stage, my opponent has got it here. GG's. Okay, I have a reasonable mix of lands and spells, but it's kind of awkward. I don't have any synergies with Replenish here, other than try to surveil land something into graveyard. I think this is a mulligan. The second hand is actively good. I'm thinking about whether or not I want 2 Utopia Sprawls. I think I just want the extra mana that the Utopia Sprawls represent with Ripples as a way to grind. All right, Flooded Strand. Hopefully we are playing against something fairer, where I have an actual chance to get my cards online. We are not matching up well versus these like turn 2 combo decks. Unfortunately, Legacy is just fast right now because you have to be something that can either out-control the Fantastic R, which basically only the blue-white decks are doing, and they're doing like main decks like Stifles and Consigns and Spell Pierces and whatnot, or you have to be fast enough to keep up with the Fantastic R, which is what most people are opting to do. There is Tamiyo. All right, cool. Now I will go Savannah, Utopia Sprawl, maybe just another green. I think I'll do Ripples immediately. If my opponent is playing Felia, can Felia blink lands? No, right? I'll double check if my opponent goes into the tank about something. I think no. All right, Tamiyo gets a clue. And then let's see if my opponent has something like a Teferi. Okay, they're going to have Ponder plus Clue to transform Tamiyo. And we will be under the gun from that immediately. Okay, they've got Brainstorm instead. Sure. Yeah, I'm good. Non-land permanent. My brain said, Felia can't blink lands. And I was not 100% sure. I was like 95, 99% sure, but Okay, Ripples, Go-Shintai, Bird. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana this turn. I think I would pay for a bird. So let's go green and black or Commune. Do I say no? I think I say no and just let that hang out in graveyard for replenish purposes. It's a little awkward. Then I think I will play out a bird, and we're using that as a like swords to plowshares bait sort of thing, where I'm not really giving my opponent other valid targets. And if bird eats a sword so that something like a Go-Shintai doesn't later, that's perfectly fine with me. I need to finish this game quickly because Tamiyo just ultimates so fucking quickly. All right, Wasteland is a thing. Sure. All right, there is a Swords to Plowshares. So bait successful. Ondin of Cleansing Fire. Let's mill my 3 cards. You're going to stifle that? All right, opponent's going to stifle that. So I need to play something that can attack Tamiyo. So here is a Go-Shintai. So I will make 1 friend. This friend doesn't do anything versus Tamiyo Plus. So if my opponent has a removal spell to remove this, they probably just win. And they have 2 cards plus cracking a clue token to try to find an answer. And they can also just potentially Tamiyo minus on swords if they don't find something. All right, Mystic Sanctuary puts swords on top. Thanks, I hate it. All right, it has Quantum Riddler instead, which draws my opponent 2 cards, keeping the clue in play. Then Go-Shintai gets to do its thing. And my opponent gets to ultimate Tamiyo next turn. Yep. They can ponder as well. Life's bad. And versus blue-white decks specifically, the removal is exile-based, so I don't get a chance to try again. I think I don't have outs. So I pay, I get Commune. I do this to pay for it. That's a Northern Air Temple. That doesn't cut it. So, like, I can cast that, but this trigger doesn't change anything. So my opponent will draw half of their deck and then have enough interaction that I think, ever resolve anything. Like, I could keep that going for a while, but I think my opponent's got it. GG. Let's turn Utopia Sprawls into carpets and try to do this whole choke lockout thing. The play patterns here previously were really neat, where, like, I play a choke, my opponent counters it. I play a choke, my opponent counters it. I replenish it, they've exhausted their resources. All right, I think the creature-based things are just too likely to eat it to Swords to Plowshares. So we will pivot out of those and play more traditional enchantments. And, like, Wrath of the Skies is still a thing. Prismatic Ending still a thing. My opponent can have things that answer enchantments, but the hope is that they just don't. Okay. I have 2 different spells that dig here. I think I just keep this, despite the fact that it doesn't do anything crazy immediately. This is essentially a very strong 6-card hand where I don't expect Southern Air Temple to really do too much. It's, like, very cute with Go-Shintai if we get to the point where I get to execute the combo. But, like, even the control decks just have a stupid I win button in the form of Tamiyo. All right, swords. Swords slows me down. All right, we're gaming. Do I have one of each basic? I do have one of each basic. There's timelines where my opponent can have things like back to basics. I'm not super expecting it, but it seems pretty free to play around it. Cleansing Fire is the life gain one. I don't think that's better than picking up Ripples. Let's get Ripples. Blooded Strand comes down. Do I play Choke immediately? I don't think so. I think I give my opponent a chance to answer cards that are not Choke. Because there's, like, Force of Will, potentially Force of Negation, potentially Spell Pierce, Spell Snare. Sure. I will go ahead and Commune with the Gods. I can still Choke next turn, even around something like a Daze. Ooh. Choke and Ripples. I think Ripples is very good in the grindy game that I am probably going to end up in. I guess there is some amount of like, next turn, which one do I jam? If my opponent has 2 islands tapped, I probably just jam a choke. It is a wasteland. Choke only taps down 1 thing as of right now. I don't know. Choke might just be bait to let Ripples resolve at this point. Let's choke. Force pitching Brainstorm. Sure. I believe I have 1 of each basic. No, I have 2 forests. So if I want, this can be a basic forest so that I have 4 mana, which is relevant for some of these cards. Flooded Strand comes down after the Brainstorm and clears. That is a draw to Quantum Riddler that my opponent can just full on cast next turn. I think despite the fact that like it's possible for me to not be able to double spell if I get this other basic, I think I just want to get it. I can't do Ripples plus something else, but I think Ripples is just my best card to play here. This is what happens when you draw the things that you would prefer to mill. Prismatic Ending answers my Ripples, which is unfortunate. Opponent has a land drop. I would really like to Surveil. My hand's pretty terrible. Now that Ripples isn't in play, I think I am just comfortable doing that. I never really need black or white. I don't think it matters which one of these I do. Do not want that Bayou. I'm looking for cards named like Replenish here. We're going to Commune. We're going to look for things like Replenish and Choke. You have another one? Jesus, okay. That is 2 spell snares. That's a statement about the format. And opponent can Surveil. Opponent says no to Stifle. Again, that's in there for like Fantastic Cars. And now my opponent gets another draw 2 off the actual factual Quantum Riddler body. And I have just like not succeeded at finding Carpet to play multiple spells or finding a Choke to lock down my opponent's resources. Hopefully that changes. All right, 3 cards. YOLO. Replenish. Choke is in graveyard. Fuck yeah. So this is not going to be a crazy amount of damage, but Choke tapping down 4 of my opponent's lands at the same time is an I win button. All right. At the very least, it is not an 05-010 league. Sick rip. GG. I don't have too much of an option to like board out of 2-drops. The 2-drops are kind of central to my strategy. I could like board this one out. I think I'm not gonna do that. Oh, hell yeah. This is great. This is just bird into Choke with a whole bunch of ability to dig. I don't want to see that shit. Ooh. I think I'm going to take myself off of black in the short term to not be wastelandable, because I think wasteland is just so disastrously bad for me right now. Seems like opponent has a counter spell. It's Daze. Sure. I think I am supposed to lead on Carpet first, because if Carpet resolves, I also get to play bird in that turn cycle. Please don't just naturally have the Brainstorm. All right, cool. I think I'm going to rumble and look for a land. I would like to Choke around Daze next turn. All right, cool. This can be Verdant. It can be a basic even. Opponent's going to get another Tamiyo clue and have a decent number of banked cards for later. And I am just kind of trying to... Ooh, nice. Carpet of Flowers is essentially a free spell. So here's Carpet. It does resolve. I will go to second main, where I will make some green. Basic? I think basic's fine. Green. I'm going to use my Eldrazi spawn this turn, one way or another. So here is my attempt at Choke, done around Daze. And Choke is 3 mana, so the spell snare doesn't get it. The Choke resolves. I will now play Bird with my remaining mana. We'll see if my opponent can bounce this out of play. They do not. Wasteland, sure. That's a clue token. I'll block your Tamiyo. Then you can't put your Kaito in. Oh, hell yeah. Everything just worked. Yes. Let's make green. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Backup Choke. Feels important. And then I will commune with the gods. Don't care if you daze that. Man! I will take Go-Shintai. I will straight up hardcast these cards. Like, hopefully the game has now slowed down enough where that is live. My opponent gets some lands that they can use to crack clues and do Tamiyo nonsense with. We'll see if they double crack. Negative. Alright, so I will say yes. I'll make some green mana. There's a land drop. I guess I'm just doing this. Yeah. This is not something I expect to stick around. Then I have a Northern Air Temple. I'm just fully expecting that to eat swords. Yep. So that is just a tiny amount of drain. And we have to find a win condition before this Tamiyo eats us alive. All right, opponent is now just fully in block mode. Say yes. Make white. 4 mana for another shrine. And now each shrine is worth a little bit of damage at this stage. My opponent every turn cycle can draw an extra card by tapping Wasteland and Basic Plains. And we're playing Draw Go, where I gain a bunch of extra life every turn. I'll just make this mana so that I don't have to click through Carpet in my second main phase. My opponent draws their end of turn bonus card. I will get to Surveil and select my next card. They are discarding 2 cards at end of turn here. They just can't deploy them well. All right, we do see Felia. I will Surveil. That should just go to graveyard. I want that there for if I draw Replenish. That's another Felia and a Swords to bin. It's another choke. Not really what I'm looking for, but okay. I guess I cast it. Maybe I don't because Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, maybe I don't because Wrath of the Skies. All right, I can now attack my opponent for 1 value. Opponent is discarding cards again. I'm relatively surprised that they did not want to cast these copies of Felia. Like maybe they just rationalized that getting through my life total is just never happening. I will Surveil land again next turn. In for 1. And opponent gets to crack their clue. There's another island. Cool, you're just giving me more mana for Carpet of Flowers. It is Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, I should have held the other choke. But I still have a Honden. Cleansing Fire. That will certainly win me the game. I mean, that probably doesn't resolve, but that is what I'm looking for. Up to 42. This does win the game if it resolves. I don't think it will. Yeah, if I had held that last choke, maybe I choke there again, and then I get to win the game via Replenish. Alright. Opponent is passing. I guess I just do that for a couple of points of damage. Like, if I Replenish, my opponent will just die. But I've used 3 of the 4 Replenishes already, because I just milled over 2 early on. Alright, no further plays from my opponent. 6 mana. It's another Wrath of the Skies. This one for 4. It kills the Honden. I will stop gaining life at a measly 46. Alright, Go-Shintai. This is kind of unfortunately a legendary creature. So this is just a 1/1 shrine every turn until my opponent answers this. Not actually all that good. They do Force of Will, though. Wow, pitching a Riddler. Riddler seems crazy good here. It totally feels like you can let that resolve bounce and then play that Riddler. Opponent brainstorms and passes. That unfortunately is a land. There's Felia. Yep. My opponent had a Riddler anyway. That's rough. I will just fetch to thin. I think we are at that stage of the game. And now kind of the problem here is that even if I choke my opponent at this stage, they just have enough power on board that it probably beats me. And Riddler can come back. My opponent gets another card out of it, and Felia grows. Thank you, deck. Tamiyo comes down as well. If my opponent doesn't have Force of Will yet, they can just, like, blink their Riddler and ignore the amount of damage I'm doing. Alright. That's probably a bad sign. That probably means that they have a counterspell already, which means that I'm not actually going to go and force my cards through. Come on! I have most of my lands in play. Mystic Sanctuary for force. I think I'm going to concede to that. Like, once I know that my opponent has force guaranteed, they've got it. So maybe I win this one if I don't play out the third choke, hold it until after Force of Will, choke as bait, and then replenish. So, like, maybe I punted that one, but, like, it was turn 15. And we flooded out pretty hard and also randomly milled over 2 replenishes. That's a bad string of things for us. GG's. All right. Opening hand has 1 land and bird. I have all the tools that I want. I think I'm going to be greedy and keep this and hope we are paired in a fair matchup. Presumably I lose bird to this. It's easily the best card in my hand. I could see someone getting scared and taking a replenish, though. Like, that's reasonable. All right, opponent figured out bird was the best card in my hand, unfortunately for me. So now I need to surveil land into a second land so that I can play Ripples and try to make something of this game. Are we dead? It is a duress. It seems like my opponent is up to no good. We're probably in, like, that Reanimator Storm type ballpark. That's wrong. Like, that is the zone that I want that card in. This is going to be green-black. Ripples was easily the best card in my hand there, I think. All right, nice. Hit the land drop. Because Ripples is the thing that lets me get another land drop and work towards actually casting a replenish. Savannah, Ripples, and I can fill my graveyard quickly. We might actually get to do the shrine thing. Another basic swamp. Okay, there's Badlands. Ah, we are doing this shit. Okay, my opponent did not have it immediately, which is good. Mill 3 cards. Do yes. I am now under 16 for what it's worth. Get a Bayou. Do I play Commune? If I spike a land next turn, I can just replenish. I don't know that I can count on that. I think I need to play bird. Like, it's super nice if I spike the land and I play Commune with this turn, but, like, this doesn't look for a land. I wonder if I straight up should just be playing mulches. Probably not. Like, finding chokes and ley lines and stuff is relevant. That is Infernal Tutor. That finds Chrome Mox. So my opponent... Oh, thank God they don't have it. I don't block. But I know they have at least 2 copies of Chrome Mox as of right now. I will mill some cards. I will say no. I will cast Replenish. Triggers. This one goes on bottom. I guess all these can go on bottom. So then these are damage-based ones. So these can go under this. And then the Go-Shintais happen. I'll just yield to those. Okay. We're yielding to everything. I suspect that my opponent is dead without, like, mathing. So many triggers. All right, yield to that. These are fucking huge. Yeah. Where was this before? Oh, my opponent is at 2. But more importantly, I'm at 26. And since I am at 26 and I'm about to gain 16 each turn, I don't think the Fantastic card beats me. So I think they need a Storm line that deals 26 damage to get a kill here. Which, good luck. Oh, I forgot Southern Air Temple would put the counters on the bird as well. It's a big boy. Big crane. This is the proof of concept. Unfortunately, it is happening in round 5. We did this much more frequently in the previous league, but that was before the Fantastic card was legal and the format sped up so much. I am now pretty much exclusively playing against combo decks on Magic Online while recording. It's combo decks and decks that are specifically built to fight against the Fantastic card, like the blue-white control deck that we've seen a couple of times over the last couple of days. Alright, what sort of nonsense can you do with Beseech? Song of Creation, 1 card left in hand. We are in full YOLO mode. Opponent needs to kill me here, or I will kill them via lethal combat damage. They have a Tendrils imprinted under Chrome Mox already, which is probably not great for them. Alright, that was a Beseech under there, so that they can cast whatever their other card is. Yeah, Duress is fine. I lose a Commune, and then a handful of artifacts are going to get stringed together. I'm going to give you relevant plays. There is now an Infernal Tutor on the stack. My opponent does not crack LED. I thought that was just going to be lethal. The storm count is 15, so like a Tendrils just kills me. Do you not have an out? Are there Burning Wishes? Because you missed the opportunity to just crack LED and have lethal. Okay, there's Burning Wish. That, unfortunately, is a big enough Tendrils that will just kill me. 40, bigger than 26, and that's also not counting the Fantastic R damage. GG. And this is where playing Thoughtseize over Deafening Silence is a poor choice. Destroying creatures, not super relevant. I think I'm going to board out the 4 creature ones and keep all of the ones that can increase my life total. Alright, I think this doesn't cut it in this matchup. I think I need to open up on a Thoughtseize a lot of the time. This is not opening up on a Thoughtseize. I think I go to 5. Yikes. So I can go to 4, or I can keep a hand that has the potential to dig, which I guess is what I'm going to do. And I hope that my opponent has bricks, and I get to do crimes. God damn it. Alright, game got harder. So now I am on, like, hard casting Go-Shintai as my way that I need to win, which doesn't feel good. And I lose my Malevolent Rumble. Rough. Opponent does not hold Bobble, but plays it out. They take their redraw. Okay, I drew the literal card that I wanted to draw. I will need to hit another land drop, and unfortunately this doesn't get me a land drop. If we go into a slower game, the Honden is not terrible. It's okay versus Fantasticar lines that take a few turns. Alright. Am I just dead now? Just eat 16 from the Fantasticar? Yep. So that is turn 1, Leyline and discard me. Turn 2, discard me again while 16ing me. We don't beat that. We put up a single game win on the board in this entire league. Maybe I could have gotten one more if I did that like line where I held back the choke. But this was rough. Legacy is so fast right now. GG's. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. When I last recorded with this, which I think was last month, maybe 2 months ago now, time is an illusion, we played long, fair games of Magic versus like largely tempo and control decks, I think, where I had time to cast something, opponent counters it, cast something, opponent counters it, replenish it all back, and win, and that play pattern repeated a bunch of times, and it was super reasonable. Here, I am just not racing the Fantasticar decks. Like, when Doomsday and Fantasticar and Show and Tell and Storm and Reanimator are the lines that you're being put up against, playing a slower combo deck is not where you want to be. And there's essentially a speed arms race going on in Legacy right now. And we were seeing decks like the blue-white control deck pick up tools like Spell Snare and Spell Pierce that you haven't seen from those sorts of decks usually in Legacy, under the assumption that just getting out of the early turns matters so much if you are trying to accumulate card advantage via Tamiyo and things like Quantum Riddler. I think I still like this deck. I think this is a really fun idea. When it works, the amount of damage and the triggers that it puts on the stack are very, very silly. I think this is just the sort of thing that you need to shelve until there's a series of bannings. Even in trying to gear the sideboard towards stuff like Reanimator and opposing combo with Thoughtseize, I think we're just not fast enough in game 1, and I don't know that we can really get much faster. Like, I don't think you can play something like Spirit Guides in this deck. You also just need a little while to get cards into the graveyard for Replenish to do its thing. One Malevolent Rumble or Commune isn't always enough. I don't think you're supposed to play Thoughtseize in game 1. Like, you are trying to be a dedicated combo deck, and you do need a decent density of shrines in order to make that happen. If you're interested in more of like some of the other builds I tried, exploring. I think I messed around with like Overlord of the Baelmerk and Barrowgoyf as other things that could mill, and then decided against it as the shrine density wasn't high enough. That was in the brewing video from Friday, July 10th. Check that out under the live panel if you're interested in that. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day here, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.